Paul Revere was born on January 1st, 1735 in Boston, Massachusetts. His dad, Paul de Revere, was a silversmith and taught his son trade. Revere took on his dad's talent as a silversmith and became one himself. To become a silversmith, Revere had to go to school to learn how to read and write. At the age of 19, Paul Revere's dad died. He learned about being a patriot from his dad. In 1765, Paul Revere joined a group called the Sons of Liberty. The Sons of Liberty were a group of patriots that were upset about the British putting taxes on legal documents and diplomas. They would burn any stamped paper that they found and tar and feather any stamp collectors during the Stamp Act. Paul Revere was the messenger for the Massachusetts Committee of Safety. He spread the word about the Boston Tea Party. He was also the person who gave out news to others for the Committee of Correspondence. In March 1773, the Virginia House of Burgesses introduced the idea of each colonial congress establishing a committee for intercolonial correspondence. This helped bring out the formation of the First Continental Congress. The Continental Congress met in Carpenter's Hall, Philadelphia, from September 5th through October 22nd, 1774. They decided to train troops, boycott all British goods, and meet again in response to the Intolerable Acts. At 10 p.m., April 18, 1775, Paul Revere was told by Dr. Joseph Warren to ride down to Lexington and warn John and Samuel Adams that the British were coming. Paul Revere rode across the Charles River and finished his journey by horse. He arrived in Lexington around 12 a.m. Paul Revere was arrested by the British soldiers after telling John and Samuel Adams that they were coming. Paul Revere's house was built in 1680. The address is 19 North Square in the north end of Boston, Massachusetts. Paul Revere bought the house when it was in 1770, when he was 35 years old and the house was 90 years old. The house is made out of timber and wooden pegs. There are 7 rooms plus a basement in his house. When Paul Revere moved into his new house, he added a 3rd floor to the already 2-story house. Paul Revere sold his house in 1880. His old house was then turned into a cigar factory. It was later turned into a grocery store and candy shop. During the time of immigration, Paul Revere's old house was used as a home for hundreds of Irish, Italian, and Jewish immigrants who lived there until they had enough money to afford a house of their own. Paul Revere's house is still standing in 2015 in practically the same great shape it was in the year of 1680 when the house was first built. Paul Revere's house is 335 years old. Paul Revere was married to Sarah Orne. Together they had 8 children. Their names were Deborah, Paul Revere Jr., Sarah, Mary, Frances, Mary, Elizabeth, and Azana. When Sarah had her 8th baby, Azana, she died. After Sarah's death, Paul Revere went on to marry Rachel Walker. They also had 8 children. Among those 3, they were named John. Along with those 3 children, there was Joshua, Joseph, Lucy, Harriet, and Maria. Paul Revere died a patriot on May 10, 1818. He was 83 years old and died of old age in his own house. He was buried in Christ Church Cemetery, but was later moved to the Greenery Burying Grounds.